Glasgow's it's an extremely serious city. You know, I'll never forget looking out my bedroom window, and I was a young lad full of myself, and this lad was staring out at me, and he was like, I said, do you want me to come down? He went, yeah. So you know, and then all of a sudden he pulled this massive Rambo knife out. I'll never forget my first wake up call was going to Edinburgh, and this guy, I won't say his name, but I remember him. Small, stocky guy, really hard as nails, and it was a leprechaun saying fighting Irish. He just said, "What's that fucking thing? What have you got that on for?" And I was like, and then I realised he was like, as if, you know what I mean? And then that was the reality. You know, if you're covered in Celtic tattoos and going in the British Army, you're just asking for trouble, to be quite honest. You probably might not be now, but back in that day you were. I know what I'm doing with a book, and I didn't want to let him know I was really desperate, but I thought I could fucking do wonders with your book. I really could. So I just put look, and I had a chat with him, and then I spoke to him after Christmas, and I didn't want to let him know I was desperate, but I just said, look, mate, I offered him a deal I knew couldn't be beaten, and I said, go anywhere else, please. And to cut a long story short, I wined, dined, and 69 him and got him into bed, and here we are now, and it's done.
Hi everyone, you're very welcome to this week's episode of Parallel with podcast. If you've not done so already, please like, subscribe and click the notifications bell so you don't miss any future videos and updates, and will also help build the channel. This week, I'm delighted to be joined by author of 20 books, including some fairly prominent figures in the British underworld, Paul Sykes, Gary Furby and Brian Cockrell. He's also written books for the last two guests on this podcast, Steve Reafe and a Geordie boy, Alan Thompson, Jamie Boyle. So Jamie, thanks a million for coming on the show this evening. It's much appreciated.
No, absolute pleasure, mate. This is how, you know, once you do a book, there's no point if you don't tell anyone. So this is a vital part of being an author or a promoter or whatever. You know, you had Steve Reafe on last week, Alan Thompson. You know, I've got a YouTube channel, but I'm not really a YouTuber. You know, so I'll leave it to yourself. Yeah, you know, so I need it basically to. I need people like yourself, Padre, to get the word out there.
Yeah. It's all collaboration and working together, so it's all good. So this evening, Jamie's come on just to have a chat about his lifetime being a Celtic supporter and experiences, and he had the honour and the pleasure of writing Alan Thompson's book, who was on a guest last week. Just going to have a bit of a chat about that and the process. The link to Jamie's website at Warcry Publishing is going to be linked below, as will his social media pages as well as the individual books for Steve Reate's book and for Tomo. So before we get stuck into it, Jamie, let's do the cheers and good health. So happy New Year to you and all the best for 2022.
Yeah, all the best, brother. God bless.
I have a feeling that it won't be the last book that we brought out this year, with the help of God, for you. So
this year I've got planned Junior Winter, Hartlepool book, Hartlepool Born and Bred 2. So that's finished. Middlesbrough police officer who was kind of in charge of the Duffy murder. What else? There's something about Whitechapel, Jack the Ripper, and Michael Showers. So he was kind of the godfather of Liverpool. And another one next week. I don't know whether I'll get that out this year, but I'm going to be announcing it next week. So I've got a very busy year. Yeah, at least 5 books this year coming from myself.
Very good. So I really appreciate you taking the time away from your busy schedule to come on this evening as well. So fair play. So I suppose just being a Celtic fan, you've been a Celtic fan all your life, Jamie. Can you maybe just give us a bit of background as to how you ended up picking Celtic as a team?
Yeah, it was. I didn't really get a choice. My dad's from Bridgeton, the east end of Glasgow, and we're probably only the ever Catholic family to come out of the area because it's a very predominantly orange Protestant area. My dad's cousin was Graham Dott, snooker world champion. He met Mum. Well, my dad was in Bellini and all that as well. Obviously, named Boyle, he had a bit of trouble in Bellini because a lot of people thought he was related to Jimmy Boyle. He ran around with gangs in the east end of Glasgow, got into a lot of trouble. You know, I mean, I've lived in Glasgow for times in my life, but essentially was brought up in Middlesbrough. So I come from a long line of fanatical, staunch Catholic, strong family, Irish descent. And I was took to my first game at 2-year-old. I didn't really know about it till about 87, 88, when I was about 7 or 8. So that was a centenary season, and I'm going to be interviewing Frank McAvennie tomorrow, who was, I mean, he was a proper god to me. You know, I used to have my hair like him, Celtic shirt, McAvennie on the back. So, you know, I've got to meet a lot of famous people over the years, famous, infamous, notorious. But tomorrow I'll probably be a bit starstruck meeting Frank McAvennie, because I'll probably go back to that 8-year-old boy hanging around Celtic Park, wanting his autograph and all it. So, you know, I was took up to maybe 10 games a season forever. You know, and Celtic supporters clubs in Middlesbrough, and I didn't get a choice. You know, my dad, you know, I've been different with my son. I give him a choice, but you know, I mean, I was at the 1989 Scottish Cup final when Joe Miller scored the winning goal against Rangers in 1989, and that was the last trophy we won for 6 years. So supporting Celtic in the 90s through the Liam Brady, Lou Macari, Tommy Burns kind of era, it wasn't much fun. It wasn't like Celtic today. I mean, some seasons I remember us finishing 4th, drawing with Partick Thistle at home. And yeah, it was, you know, it was embarrassing, really. Some of the players like Carl Muggleton, Tony Cascarino, Wayne Biggins. Oh God, it was really painful, and it was the worst time in the club's history. So I lived through that, and obviously when Martin O'Neill took over in 2000, that was like a magical time, and I think that's the reason why Alan Thompson's book meant so much to me. But yeah, you know, it was. I give my son a choice where, you know, I mean, some people will say I'm still like that at 41, but I was always the little kid walking about with every Celtic tracksuit, every Celtic shirt. And when I kind of got my own man, I was too brainwashed. You know, I've got to the point now where, you know, I've named my son Jameson Lennon after Neil Lennon. I've had my dogs, Henrik Larsson, Colo Torre. I've got Georgie Samaras. The wife's just talking about an hour ago about we're getting another dog, and we're going to call that Alan after Alan Thompson.
Tomo, yeah.
So yeah, you know, even when a young boxer, I would box out of tartan, thinking I was Steve Collins. Joined the army when I was 18, and I've got Celtic tattoos all over me and Celtic crosses and badges. And I got a bit of stick for that. But I'm just one of them people who, you know, you don't choose, you play with the cards you dealt with. And, you know, if my dad had been Bristol Rovers fan. I just supported Bristol Rovers. So I didn't really get a chance. And Glasgow Celtic has always been a way of life for me. And when I got the chance of doing Alan Thompson's book, I kind of become an accidental author because I got into to writing books just because I wanted to find out the Paul Sykes story. And, you know, if I made any money, good. But if I didn't, then so be it. So when Alan Thompson's doing his book, that would have been a book I'd have thought, you know what? I'm not bothered about the money. I'll just do it anyway. Because, you know, I remember splitting up from my ex-girlfriend when I was about 22. And I went back to my old bedroom. And that was when I was really fanatical with football. And I had Alan Thompson posters all over my wall.
Brilliant.
So, I mean, Frank McAvennie tomorrow, but he was my idol of all idols. I mean, I think you can see a picture of him in the background. He was my hero of all heroes. And I've met so many people this last couple of months, Martin O'Neill, Alan Shearer, members of the Reafe, Chris Lambriano, Charles Bronson, like a lot of, I've got to meet with a lot of really famous people, Alex Reid, Kevin Mitchell, but you know, Celtic, I'll probably go back to a little boy, and I think I always will. You know, no matter how big I get in this business, I'll always look at my phone and say to the wife, fucking hell, Martin O'Neill's ringing me.
Yeah.
So it's all very surreal, mate, still.
Absolutely, yeah. You mentioned Bridgeton a while ago, and I just have a kind of a story about Bridgeton that I know of a young married couple some years back. They've got a gift for a Celtic Rangers game at Celtic Park. As you know yourself, when you walk out of Parkhead, you can go left or right onto the London Road, and if you go left, you'll end up in Bridgeton. And they ended up in Bridgeton with Celtic colours on them, and they got abducted. So I can imagine, how did your dad find growing up as the only Catholic family? It must have been very difficult for them, because it is a staunch area, like.
Extremely difficult, to the point when young teenager, he was looking at attempted murder. Well, he was, and he went to Bellini. Gang fights, you know, hang around Hag Hill, Easter House, dealing with associating with a couple of well-known criminals in Glasgow, TC Campbell. Who else? Jock Costello, the guy who slashed Peter Sutcliffe, and Jimmy Steele. So, yeah, it wasn't much fun for a young lad. And then to get that, it was like, you know, I think he went and joined the Merchant Navy. But, you know, when I used to live up there in 98, I would often, when I worked in Parkhead Forge, I would walk from one side of the city to the other, mainly because I never had any money. I lived in a bedsit, I was in homeless units and all that. I would walk from like Rutherglen to Jamaica Street over the Gorbals. And that's from one side of the city to the other. And I went up there 2005, and I was with the wife, and she said, go down this alley. And I said, look, Shirley, I'm not. So I had a Celtics shirt on. So by then I'd kind of clued up. But, you know, looking back now as a 41-year-old man, it was crazy. But, you know, when you're young and you're stupid, you don't really think.
Yeah.
But Glasgow's an extremely serious city. You know, I'll never forget looking out my bedroom window, and I was a young lad full of myself, and this lad was staring out at me, and he was like, I said, do you want me to come down? He went, yeah. So you know, and then all of a sudden he pulled this massive Rambo knife out, and this is, I don't know, you can think what you want of this. I was a young kid. Do you know what I'd done? I actually got changed, closed my curtains, and got into bed. I absolutely shit myself. This wasn't a normal knife. This was something like Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
And if I'd have went downstairs, he'd have probably chopped my head off. So it is, you know, listen, the Glasgow Kiss, and so many people walking about with Mars bars, as the Glasgow slang is. You know, it's been knife culture of the city a few times in Europe. And, you know, if you make a mistake, it's a very unforgiving city. And, you know, even when I lived up there and I got jobs, I remember one boss saying to me, see, if I'd have known you were a Catholic and a Celtic supporter, I wouldn't have given you the job. Jeez. So it's a city like no other. And, you know, I've always been very familiar with Glasgow all my life. But, you know, until you actually live in the city for probably a good few months and you see it, you realize how dangerous it is. It's kind of got a goldfish mentality, and it's divided by Catholics and Protestants. You know yourself, living in Ireland, and you know, take the religion politics away, and it's just a game of football. But you know, there's been so many people over the years, mate, that have lost their life because they've went to the wrong part of the city. And I don't think that'll ever go away, certainly in our lifetime.
Yeah, that's shocking. Can you remember your first time in Parkhead?
So it was May 1982, and I was 2 years and 1 month. I've still got the programme. Celtic won 6-0. On the back of it, my dad's written, Jamie was clapping and shouting Celtic, but I can't remember then. But my first memories, I first started noticing about it about 1987. Frank McAvennie, Joe Miller, Billy Stark, Peter Grant, Tommy Burns. You know, Rangers were coming big then. Sooners had just took over. It was a centenary season. It was Celtic were 100 years old, and we'd done the double. Frank McAvennie scored 2 goals in the last couple of minutes at Hampden. And that was, you know, that was probably the last really year, because, you know, Rangers at the time, they had the England #1 Chris Woods, England #2 Gary Stevens, Terry Butcher, England captain. You know, that's the equivalent of like John Terry.
Yeah.
You know, they had Trevor Stephen, Mark Walters, Ali McCoist. That was a proper Rangers team, and you know, there was no fun supporting Celtic back in them days. Particularly when Mark Haley come and Rangers got to the Champions League semi-finals. Yeah. You know, David Murray said if Celtic spend a £5, we'll spend a tenner. And, you know, we nearly went out of business in '94. Thanks to Fergus McCann, the bonnet, we didn't. And, yeah, you know, he can't... I personally think there should be a statue built of Fergus McCann. You know, I was at Parkhead a couple of days ago, and you see Jimmy Johnston and Billy McNeil and Brother Wilfred. I think there's 1 or 2 others. And you know what? If it wouldn't have been for Fergus McCann, Celtic were going to get a new ground in Camberslang, which is not even in Glasgow, so actually couldn't have been Glasgow Celtic anymore. You know, well, back in them days, Rangers were buying big money, and you know, they had the greatest manager they've ever had, Walter Smith, who was a defensive genius. So many times I'd see Celtic playing Rangers off the park, and they'd always hit us on the break and win a 1-0. You know, and it was a very, very sad time. Liam Brady, Lou Macari. Not very good memories, to be honest, mate.
Even coming into the Tommy Burns era, I was reading up last night that in Tommy Burns' second season, Celtic lost 1 game all season, and
yeah,
the league. You know, and Andy Gorham made some outstanding saves for Rangers at Celtic Park, I think, at the New Year's Old Firm derby.
Yeah, Pierre Van Hooydonk. Do you know what? Andy Gorham was probably, he was world class. He was, if he hadn't been a really staunch Rangers man, I mean, he could have played for any team in the world. That's how good he was.
Yeah. And if you look at him, when you look at Andy Gorham, he looked like a goalkeeper you'd see in a pub team. Do you know what I mean? Like, kind of, like, no disrespect to the man, obviously he was a world-class goalkeeper, but I'd say physical fitness probably wouldn't have been his forte, we'll say. With the agility, you know, and the saves he made, he made some unbelievable saves against Celtic.
Oh, staggering. Absolutely staggering. And Tommy Burns said, God rest him, he said, on my gravestone, it'll say, Andy Gorham put me here. Yeah. You know, when you think of that Celtic side, in particular, what you're talking about, Andy Tom, Pierre Van Hooijdonk, George Cadetti, Paolo Di Canio. You know, Paolo Di Canio was actually in the same Celtic side as Henrik Larsson for about 12 days.
Yeah.
And there was, you know, Alan Stubbs. It was so sad to think, you know, Tommy Burns deserved more than just I think we won a Scottish Cup in '95. I think we won one in '97. No, Wim Jansen was then. So Tommy Burns deserved better. And, you know, quite rightly, your knowledge is phenomenal, mate, to lose one game all season. I think it was 4 points. We lost the league that year.
Reminded me of Liverpool under Reafe in 2009. Like, Liverpool lost 2 games all season, but they drew 11 matches, and that's what killed it. I think Celtic had 11 draws as well that year. Similar.
That'll never be done again. But I met Tommy Burns a couple of times and had time for everyone. And it was just an absolute. There's not many people when you think of who really epitomise Celtic Football Club. I think Tommy Burns would be in the top 3. You've got Billy McNeil, you know, people like Peter Grant and that. And but Tommy Burns was just everything. And he was a fan, as he quoted, he was a fan who got lucky. And he's greatly missed. So sad.
Yeah, I think it was bad form with the Rangers fans singing "Happy Merry Christmas, Tommy Burns" there a couple of months ago. It was pretty bad taste.
Yeah, but, it's disgusting. It's no place in football for stuff like that. It's not just the Rangers fans as well. It's, you know, there's been a few situations I've been really disgusted. I've been a Celtic fan, you know, when I've heard the whistles, you know, and you just think, Jesus Christ, that's, yeah, I think you know what I'm on about. I can't really bring myself to say it, but yeah, it makes you sick to the stomach, certain things like that, whistling through a minute silence, and you know, but you'll never stop these kind of people.
An outlet for them, you know. I suppose similar to Rangers fans, the only thing we kind of had to shout about that time in the late 90s was stopping Rangers at 10 in a row. What are your memories of that season under Wim Jansen?
Yeah, I actually lived in Glasgow that year. And it was very, very tense. I think we played, was it St. Johnstone at home?
St. Johnstone, the last day of the season, I believe it was.
Henrik scored, and I suppose he was regarded as a flop, Harold Brackback, but he scored the second goal that really cemented, you know. And I mean, I lived in Denniston, and all that week through the city, you could just feel the tension. Scotland were in the World Cup shortly afterwards. It was just a really magical time. It was, and then that was obviously the last season, really, until Martin O'Neill come and brought in all his players. And that from 2000 to about 2005, that was the greatest time in my Celtic supporting life. You know, I don't think there'll anything be close. I think a few years back when Brendan Rodgers was here, Moussa Dembele and that, and I thought, you know what, we could actually have a repeat of that. But we just seemed to get smashed in Europe, and we were fantastic domestically. But nothing has been close to Sutton, Hartson, Larsson, Petrov, Thompson, Lennon, Baldi, Agat. Just what a really, truly magical time it was. And even the 2 leagues we lost them in the last 2 minutes of the season.
And by 1 goal 1 year. So
Martin would have had 5 out of 5.
On that, actually, in the interview with Tomo, he was just kind of musing as to how many more points Celtic got than Rangers in that 5-year period. And I added it up. And I made a mistake with 1 less point for Rangers. So it's 49 is actually the correct amount.
Right.
That kind of says a lot over the course of 5 years, that Celtic were head and shoulders. They either won the league by a mile or they lost on the last day.
Yeah. You know what? That was a proper good Rangers side as well.
Yeah.
So listen, I'm not going to go about figures, but I was in Greenock with Alan Thompson at the weekend, and one of his quotes was, "I know what Henrik Larsson was on, the top earner, but I also know what over the road was on, Ronald de Boer, and it was on a lot more, and Rangers were spending 12 million on Justin Flo and Fernando Rickson, God rest him, and George Albert and Michael Moles, and that was a serious Claudio Caniggia. That was a very, very good Rangers side.
Arteta as well was playing for Rangers that time, wasn't he?
Yeah, Amoruso. Bear Cotterman. Yeah, I mean,
Champions League winner of Dortmund.
Yeah, he won the Champions League a couple of years back in the same team as Paul Lambert. So, they absolutely ooze class. And so for Martin, who when he took over Celtic said, "I just want to stick neck to neck." So I think the first season he won the league by 19 points. So that Martin O'Neill, for what he'd done in his time in Glasgow, will never ever be forgotten by the Celtic family. I had a meeting with him a couple of months back, and you know what? He's got an aura about him. I must have been with him for about an hour and a half, and in that hour and a half, there was about 12 people who kept coming up. Can I have a picture? The man's an absolute god. Yeah, it was, he's just a lovely, lovely guy as well. But he has that aura about him. I watched a documentary the other day, and I think he's took a lot of his coaching skills from Brian Clough, who used to be his boss at Nottingham Forest.
It would make sense. And the stories from those European adventures, Tomo was saying, would come up in team talks and stuff like that before big games. Yeah, he was an outstanding manager for Celtic and a character as well.
Do I spoke to him, and I mean, to be honest, as soon as he found out who I was and what books I'd done, because Martin's obsessed with true crime. So before he was training as a footballer, he was going to be a barrister. So he's obsessed with like Jack the Ripper, and I remember him telling me in 1981 he went to the Old Bailey and he sat the Yorkshire Ripper case. So he remembers Paul Sykes and all that, and I've sent him lots of books, and he's really into his true crime, does the Jack the Ripper walks and all that. So to be honest, he as soon as he realised who I was, he was just like, "Fuck Alan Thompson, let's just talk about true crime." But the privilege was all mine. It was an absolute proper honour to meet him, and I bought him a slice of cake and a couple of tea, and he said, "No, I'll pay." And I said, "No, you won't." And it was as I said, I've met a lot of people last couple of years, but it was an absolute total moment I'll never forget. Getting to meet him. He's my hero, really.
Ali McCoist said it in one of the chapters in A Geordie Boy. That while the Lisbon Lions will always have a special place in Celtic's history, that he believed that the Celtic team from under Martin O'Neill was a close second for what they achieved domestically and getting to the UEFA Cup final as well in that great run in Seville. It was great to be a Celtic supporter that time. Like, they were really putting it up, to the Liverpools, the Celta Vigos at the time, the Stuttgarts, Boavistas, and to be beaten in extra time by a team, Porter, that would go on to win the Champions League the following season, is also show the achievement it was, really, because that Porter team were no mugs.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go to many games in that European run, Jamie, or?
No, I didn't. I mean, I watched them all, but no, I didn't go to any of them. Yeah, it was an unforgettable season. I mean, even the season after, to beat Barcelona, obviously Mr. Thompson got the winning goal.
And got Saviola sent off as well. Just add into the
mix. Yeah, he did. He did a bit of play acting.
Yeah.
But to lose to a very underrated Villarreal, I think it was after Barcelona. It was Henrik's last season as well. But great memories, and some of the best nights of my life have been being up there and going to work the next day, hungover, but not caring because we just beat Barcelona last night. And yeah, really fabulous memories. And you don't forget nights like that.
Just going back, you moved to Middlesbrough when you were young from Glasgow, is that right? You're quite young when you moved. What was it like being a Celtic fan in school at that time?
Well, I moved back in '98 as well, but yeah, it wasn't very nice. I was always the kid. Every item of clothing I owned was either Celtic, Scotland, or the Republic of Ireland. As I said, some people will still say I'm the same, but it was really dismal time. And I dare say I was bullied a lot, because back in them days, everyone was supporting Liverpool. Celtic, I suppose, although they're one of the biggest clubs in the world, didn't really get fashionable to support Celtic in England until Martin O'Neill took over. Predominantly Middlesbrough, everyone was Rangers because of the England connection. And that gave me a bit of a chip on the shoulder. But yeah, it probably wasn't fair. My dad, I didn't get a choice. He dressed me in what he wanted, and
around that time as well, Jamie, it would have been the height of the Troubles in Northern Ireland. So you think there was kind of like, did you find there was an anti-Irish element there when you were in school?
Yeah, well, I had all the Ireland kits in '88, the Euros, and then Italia '90. It was if I could think of all the shit I had as a young kid, it was because I was the kid, probably the only kid in Middlesbrough who'd walk about with a Celtic top on. Everyone was England, Rangers, Middlesbrough. And do you know what? I probably wouldn't do it to my son now. And because of the upbringing I've had with my dad, I've never spoke with him. I don't want nothing to do with him, but I just think, you know what? Well, I'm going to let him choose. If he wants to support Tottenham, but it was bred into me, and when I had a mind of my own, I couldn't. I was too far gone. I wish I could have just woke up and started supporting West Ham or Newcastle, but Celtic was all I knew. And anyone who knew me at a young age, or anyone who's watching this, I was always the kid at any point in my life. Jamie Boyle, Celtic kit, Celtic, every single thing. Most days now I'm wearing something with Celtic on. And in the early 90s, going to primary school and secondary school and all that, it wasn't very nice. It was pretty horrible. Dire football team. Aberdeen would come to Glasgow often, absolutely smash Celtic. Motherwell, Hearts, Hibs. As I said, I think one season we finished 4th, or might even been 5th.
Yeah.
It's staggering really to think about it. But as I said, it was the worst time in the club's history. Thankfully, I don't think anything will ever happen like that again.
Yeah, in 93-94 season, Celtic came 4th behind Rangers, Aberdeen, and Motherwell.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Another, I suppose, you have an Irish affinity. You have a close affinity with the Irish people. Your grandparents are from Donegal, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, it's obviously one or two generations from my granddad. So they come over around the 1800s and settled in Glasgow in the East End. My wife's done the family tree actually, and about a year back, and it was really impressive. I've never knew. So you know, it's as I said, it's part of who you are really. I'm not sure about yourself, but you know, I've just come from a long line of Celtic supporters. Didn't get a choice, like my dad didn't get a choice, and his dad before that. Is it right? Probably not. But it was a lot different then in the 80s. As I said, I haven't done it with my son. I mean, what's your situation? Do you follow people? Because what was your dad like? Did he kind of bring into you? And
well, my dad is actually a Man United supporter, and I follow Liverpool. So as you can tell, we have our own opinions on sport, but it doesn't affect our relationship at all. But I think majority of people in the Southern Ireland support Celtic as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of joint favourite team for majority of people. That's what it was for me. And I suppose growing up, getting an understanding of Irish history and, you know, the importance that immigrants in Glasgow played in forming Celtic and was to represent the Irish identity and culture in Scotland, that played a big part in me supporting Celtic from then on. And I suppose the songs they sing, I would have loved the Wolf Tones, which a lot of songs are sung at Parkhead as well as and that. So it was more a cultural at the time rather than sporting. But then Martin O'Neill got the job not long after, and it was 5 great years. And I remember being heartbroken when they lost the league in the last day of the season at Kilmarnock and the UEFA Cup final. It was a week of heartache there, wasn't it? You know.
Oh God, yeah.
But I remember you mentioned about Glasgow being I've been in Glasgow twice for matches, and the first time I was there was in 2007.
Right.
And Celtic had won the league this day. They're playing Hearts, and the League Cup is going to be presented after the match.
Was it 5-0 then?
No, Celtic actually were beaten 3-1, funny enough. It was under Strack in April 2007. On that particular day, I remember the viciousness among the Celtic fans. They were beaten, you know, like towards the referee. They were obviously very frustrated, and the passion was on show. They were so passionate. And just made me think, if they're like this on a game where there's nothing to play for, where the Celtic have won the league and they're getting the league trophy, what's it going to be like on a day when there's something to actually play for, you know? And I remember thinking, wow, the atmosphere, it was phenomenal. I could feel the hate in the stand. And I suppose there is connection with Hearts being the Rangers of Edinburgh and that. And it was funny. I went back again for the Hearts game to start of last month. And I was on the train to the match, and someone said, the last Hearts haven't won at Parkhead since guess when?
Mm-hmm.
The last time I was there. So literally I was there on my way to the match. Just have a bad luck omen for Celtic against Hearts, you know. So luckily it didn't come to true. Celtic won 1-0 anyway, or 1-0 on the night.
Yeah. I think the majority of people over your way, it's Celtic, Manchester United and Liverpool.
Yeah. And a lot of cases it is, yeah.
Mm.
But you mentioned the season after. I remember you said in another interview, and I would agree with you on this, your favourite Glasgow derby / Old Firm memory was the game the Vinegar of Hesselink got the 94th minute winner.
Mm.
Maybe tell us about what that game means to you.
Do you know what? That's my favourite season of all time, because I was at Celtic Park in 2000, so April 2008, and Motherwell had beaten us, and on the way home, everyone was just on suicide watch because we had to beat Rangers twice and then slip up twice. So obviously that goal was the Nakamura goal.
Oh,
They
great.
scored. Then Jan Vennegaard of Hesselink scored 94th minute. Oh wow, what a night! April the 16th, 2008, and then we played them about a week and a half later. That was 3-2, and then Rangers had to slip up. Luckily for us, Rangers were in the UEFA Cup, and I think they played something like 4 or 5 games in 11 days. It was staggering, and you know, the SFA wouldn't extend them, and obviously Celtic won the league, and Rangers got mauled by some Russian team in the final.
He was in St. Petersburg.
In Petersburg, Fernando Rickson was playing for him.
They mauled Manchester City Centre as well, but we won't get into that.
Yeah. But you know what? That season, it was unbelievable, and obviously it was a title for Tommy. Jan Vennegaard scored from a header at Tannadice, and that is the greatest high ever in my life. And it was just at the end of it, you were just like, wow, it's been done.
Yeah, it was Mission Impossible.
It was the impossible. I'm just trying to think. Did we get a Scottish Cup? No, we didn't.
I was in the Friars War Tavern that night here in Cork. There was a Celtic supporters bar, and the place just hit the roof. It was absolutely fantastic when that goal went in, because we rarely get last minute winners against Rangers as well. I can't really remember too many in my lifetime anyway. So it was
Chris Sutton scored 2004.
Yeah,
the whitewash. That was when Celtic had beat Rangers 5 times in one season. I don't think that'll ever happen again.
Yeah, I think this goal though was a really important goal. It was more important than Sutton. I know it was nice to get the whitewash, but that goal arguably won Celtic the league, you know, or it pushed them on the road to winning the league, like, you know. So I think it was special.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you'll ever see a more important goal, a vital goal as such, you know, because if that goal never went in, everything could have happened, and Rangers had dropped points twice away from Celtic game, and Rangers had beat them, but they'd have won. So that's how important that was.
Can you maybe tell us a bit about your trips to see Celtic play in recent years? Have you gone many times?
I've probably been over 100 games. I've been to Ibrox, I've been to Easter Road, Hampden Park several times, Middlesbrough, what else? Leeds, Ellen Road. A few years back when Celtic beat Sunderland 5-0, quite a few crowd troubles. Yeah, you know, I haven't been abroad or nothing. I've been to Berwick Rangers ground. You know, the majority of them have been at Celtic Park, but you know, there's just no bigger passion in my life than football and boxing. But Celtic, it's personal to me. You know, it's actually personal. I mean, I was at Celtic Park about 2010, and Kenny Miller scored for them. And my mate texted me, and and I was like saying, when I get home, me and you are having a fight. It's crazy, really. Yeah. But you know, if football means so much, and that time Scott McDonald, Tomo spoke about it in his book, scored 2 goals. I think he described it as Manny Pacquiao left and right, 88 and 90th. I just screamed at the wife and just went upstairs and laid on the bed and just couldn't speak for about 4 hours. And football, it just, you know, when you think about all the bad things in life happen, and people are homeless, and there's so many bad things, we allow ourselves to get mentally fucked over a football game. But there's so much high, so euphoric, and there's so lows. There's so many lows I've experienced with Celtic Football Club. And you know, some people will look at this and think, what you're on about, it's only a game. But football can really take you to some dark places. Definitely. And it can take you to some of the greatest, best times of your life. You just want to grab someone and kiss them, and life's fucking fabulous. You know what I mean? And that's what football does. And you know, as I said, I didn't choose. It was just bred into me at a young age. And you know, I haven't spoken to my dad for 8 years. I'll never speak to him again. But that's just who I am. I can't change my history and my past.
Yeah.
And I'm too far in to just. I've got nothing else. But Celtic are part of my life and they're part of me. And anyone who knows me knows, you know, a lot of people, when you think of Celtic and Middlesbrough, they'll think of Jamie Boyle. And yeah, that's just that. And I think I'll be like that until my grave. And then when I'm dead, I'll probably have some Celtic badge on my grave. So yeah, it's you deal a card you dealt with, and that's just me.
You mentioned you were in the army as well, and you got a bit of stick for having the Celtic crosses and that on you. Was it kind of just banter, or did it get kind of personal?
Both really. Obviously, you know, I mean, I've got Celtic badges and leprechauns saying fighting Irish. You know, just to be honest, Celtic, I mean, I'm sure you're aware of the situation. I mean, I just went in as a young lad, you know, thinking, well, you know, I've done a bit of boxing, so I'll go in the army and I'll just be a boxer. And yeah, that was my plan. I never thought anything of it until I went up to Glencorse, which is the biggest. It's in Edinburgh, and then I was posted in Surrey, where all the Scots Guards were, and yeah, so you know, it was quite eventful. But you know, back these days it probably wouldn't happen, but this was like nearly 25 years ago. You know, bullying has clamped down on everything now, but back then it was like a lot of things went on that people turned a blind eye to. You know, since them days, I mean, I was discharged for having asthma. These days, people are allowed in with asthma. People are allowed in if you're homosexual. But back in 1998 to 1999, when I was in for a year, whatever, no, it was very, very different then. So, you know, times change, society's changed.
Do you want to elaborate on the shit you got in the army? Or
just being a bastard, and you know, I'll never forget my first wake-up call was going to Edinburgh, and this guy, I won't say his name, but I remember him. Small, stocky guy, really hard as nails, and it was a leprechaun saying fighting Irish, and he just said, "What's that fucking thing? What have you got that for?" And I was like, and then I realised he was like, as if, you know what I mean? And then that was the reality. I mean, as I said, it wouldn't happen now. And I've lived in Glasgow. I've been inside the Loudon Tavern, the Rangers bar, when they stand up and sing "God Save the Queen" every night. You know, there's a picture above the door of the Queen, and they've got the rituals. And I've lived off Duke Street, where all the Orange Marches happen. So I'm aware of it all. And as I said, it wouldn't happen now. But, you know, if you're covered in Celtic tattoos and going in the British Army, you're just asking for trouble, to be quite honest. You probably might not be now, but back in that day you were.
It obviously hurt you personally at the time as well.
No, not really. I understood it. You know, as I said, I've lived in Glasgow. You know, I know what it's all about. So, you know, it's not really personal. I've been trolled for years, a lot of people, and I've never been so relieved in my life that when I started doing Alan Thompson's book, I was getting called fat Fenian bastard. You know, which is it's very different to what I'm used to, because I used to have long hair, and they'd always call me a fat lesbian and all this, and it's kind of funny, to be honest.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, listen, you'll get some trolling if you stick to this and you're prolific. Then you know you're not special. That people out there will see you, and they don't do nothing with their life, and they'll just sit and they'll get jealous and they'll start saying nasty things about you. So it's just part of the parcel of being successful. I think Malcolm X says, "Him who has got no haters has got no success." And I get it on a daily basis. I've probably only learned to live with it for the last 5 years. I started getting really bad anxiety tics. It's not so bad now. I'm still not exactly where I want to be. But that was the end product of working 7 days a week, not having a day off, and just, you know, getting all the shit. And that's that. I started having all problems, but yeah, just you know, I've learned to deal with it now, and I literally, there's not a day goes by when I don't get some form of abuse. But I'm actually probably writing 4 or 5 books at the minute, so I haven't got time. I had one this morning, a couple of hours ago, and when it used to be first happening, I used to probably want the last word, and then I'd block them. Where now, I just block it. I just haven't got the time. I have not got the time for Joe 118 to message me up and call me an asshole, which I already know. So, you know what I mean? It's like, you've just got to be focused in life and forget them little bits on the side.
Definitely, yeah.
You know, Alan Thompson, he gets some bad things. You had Steve Reafe on your show the other week. Steve gets some extremely, really bad things. But listen, he's got a career out of it. The guy works hard. Fair play to him. You know, because listen, I written his book, so I saw what the guy got. Ball, Tory nonce. You know, Sunderland, he's basically Beelzebub. He is Satan in the city of Sunderland. But you know what? You're never going to get anywhere in life if you care what people think about. So, in the words of Oscar Wilde, there's only one thing worse than being talked about, and that's not being talked about. So, you know, Neil Lennon had it worse than anyone. And his greatest crime was being a footballer, being a Catholic from a Protestant country, playing for an Irish, a football club with great Irish heritage,
Yeah.
to feed the poor of Ireland. So that was all he'd done. He wasn't a rapist or a murderer or a nonce. And you know, Steve Reafe, he's a guy who works every single day, gets up, but he gets a very, very high volume of trolls. So does Sean Atwood, who I'm closely work with. And let me tell you something, Sean Atwood is an absolute diamond. He's one of the people who I trust, and some of the things he gets. Oh, he's gay. Listen, that man's not gay. I've sat in the pubs and I've seen him talking to birds and all, women left, right, and centre. That man is so not gay. But if you on the internet, it's just full of nonsense. But it's a sign of success, mate. And if you crack on doing this, you're going to get it as well. Have you had it yet?
Not quite. Yeah, not quite. But look, I suppose
It's coming.
If it comes, it comes. I'll take it and on the chin, and all I can do is try and put positive energy out there. And if it's not matched, then I can't do much about that, really.
Yeah, you know what? You can you're gonna get it anyway. The only thing, because I think there's a saying, the only way to avoid criticism is to do nothing, be nothing, and just hide away forever. When you put yourself in the limelight, like I have, doing all these books on bad bastards, Jack the Ripper, Paul Sykes, Lee Duffy, Roy Shaw, Steve Rafe's book is a Newcastle book, so the Newcastle Sunderland fans are going to hate it. Alan Thompson's book's more or less Celtic through and through. So Rangers, there's always somewhere that there's always something that people will get pissed off about. And you're never going to please anyone. And if you do, you're not doing your job. So if everyone loves you, then you're not quite right. So
I think someone said once before, you can't be everyone's cup of tea, otherwise you'd be a mug. So that's
yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned Sunderland a while ago, Jamie. Can I just ask, the other time you were at the Celtic Sunderland game? That made a lot of headlines. I think with Tommy Robinson supporters or something turned up, and there was complaints about Celtic chants or whatever. What was your experience of that game? Just out of interest for someone who was there.
So that was 2017. So that was July. Bradley Lowry, God rest him, died in the May. So I was talking quite closely to the Bradley Lowry Foundation. His granddad, who died the week, God rest him, Howard. So I spoke to Bradley's mum, and so my second book, the Paul Sykes Further Agony, every pound that's sold from that book supports the Bradley Lowry Foundation. So that's done that for the last 4.5, coming up for 5 years now. So I'm aware of the chants. I never heard them, but the only thing I personally heard, and if anyone thinks I'm lying, you can go on YouTube and can hear it. So I was in the back end I was in the behind the goal, which was all where the Celtic end was. So my son, it was his first game. So he's about 8 or 9, and all I heard was one Bradley Lowry. There's only one Bradley Lowry, and that was by the Celtic fans the whole game. I've read about it, and I'm sure there might have been a handful of morons, singing. You get it every New Year. A handful of drunken arseholes singing about the Ibrox disaster. You're never going to get rid of it. But that's my experience on that, and I was there. And if anyone doesn't believe me, you can only go on YouTube and all the way through that game, you can hear the Celtic fans shouting, "There's only one Bradley Lowry." So that's only what I personally heard myself.
Very good. So moving on, I suppose one of the highlights of your career so far, writing Alan Thompson's book. Can you maybe tell us how that came about, how you got the gig initially?
So Alan was on Twitter, let me think, 2 years next month. So February 2020, and he was only on because he'd heard people were abusing Jackie McNamara because he had a brain operation. So he thought, that's not right, so I'll come on. So I messaged him in the April as a fan, and I just put, have you ever thought about writing your biography? And he blanked me. So then it was a couple of months later, about 13 months ago, so it was December, my friend Paul Venice, who is going to play the part of Lee Duffy, world champion, K1 expert. I'm really close to Paul. So he followed Alan Thompson. He got a follow back. So he told me, and I was like, really? And I was like, fucking arsehole, because he hadn't followed me back. So I was like, a bit put out. So I followed Alan, then I unfollowed him, then I followed him. So I was trying to get his attention. And after bombarding him, I just put, look, because by then I know what I'm doing with a book. And I didn't want to let him know I was really desperate, but I thought I could fucking do wonders with your book. I really could. So I just put, look, and I had a chat with him. And then I spoke to him after Christmas. And I didn't want to let him know I was desperate, but I just said, look, mate, I offered him a deal I knew couldn't be beaten. And I said, go anywhere else, please. And to cut a long story short, I wined, dined, and 69 him and got him into bed. And here we are now, and it's done. And he's open I'm going to be forever eternally grateful, because although I'd done 17 books, I think, by the time I'd got him in trouble, point with him, they were all true crime. They were all on thugs. They were all on not very nice people. So, you know, I've spoke to a couple of people, like lower league footballers. I thought I might have. So for me to get Alan Thompson in my first book in the genre was huge. And, you know, listen, I told him I was an Amazon bestseller, and he knew, he Googled me. He knew I mean, listen, I'm probably, this sounds a bit narcissistic, but so I've done 19 books in 4 years to the week, from March the 7th, 2017 to March the 10th, 2021. So that in 4 years to the week, 19 books. So 9 were Amazon bestsellers, and I had 1 Waterstones bestseller. So that made me, it's a fact, that made me the most prolific author in Great Britain. You know, Steve Reafe said to me, Jamie, you might want to check that out. That might be some kind of world record. But what I'd done, how I'd done it was sitting 7 days a week with a laptop and just working like an absolute bastard. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you know, so he took his chance on me, and lucky for him and lucky for me. And me and Alan Thompson, we drove off in the sunset and romantically lived happily ever after.
He moved into your house for a week or so, didn't he, as well?
Yeah,
that's been cool.
He come and stayed with me for about 5 days, and then he come back again for another 2 days, and I was with him another week for 2 days, and he's back this week. I'm with him the week after in Liverpool, Newcastle. Yeah, listen, I remember paying to watch him, and sat on the sidelines, shouting, Thompson, you knobhead, and pulling my hair out when he was sent off. So I remember all that. And as I said, I had posters of him. So I remember being sat where I am now, and the wife looked at me last year and she went, as if we've got Alan Thompson upstairs singing, walking about in his underpants. Yeah, it's surreal, bizarre, but he's not a hero to me now. He's just someone that I quite regularly take the piss out of. I was in the Daily Star the other week, and I'm again today. I'm in the Daily Star today regarding Paul Sykes. So I think I texted him the other week and I said, oh, I was like chuffed. I said, oh, I'm in the national press today. And he cut me down to size and he was like, oh, really? I've never been in the paper before. So he's a bit of a lad. He's funny. He gets me. I'm a bit strange, to be honest. I've got a bit of a weird sense of humour. And Alan Thompson's someone who really gets me, and I get him. So, you know, he's been good for me, and I've been good for him. And, you know, he's kind of become one of my friends now, and I'll do anything for him and vice versa.
Brilliant. No, and I really appreciate you helping getting Alan on my show as well, Jamie. It was very...
No, listen, I'm sure I can get more. I still have a little bit of anxiety. I'm not as bad as I used to be. Yeah, it was pretty bad. So I'm trying to get it over. So if you can bear with me.
Yeah, no, even from the first message on Facebook, you've been a pleasure to deal with. So it is really appreciated, the effort you've gone to. Just a quick fire round, I suppose, just before we wrap up. Kind of not so much a quiz, but just kind of a profile of your favourite and least favourite moments as a Celtic fan. So, what was your best Celtic memory?
My lowest moment was May the 22nd, 2005. Scott McDonald scored. I'll never forgive him, even when he signed for us. You know, why didn't he do a Henrik Larsson? And he looked devastated because Scott McDonald was Mr. Celtic. He just, you know, Tomo said on the journey back from Motherwell to Celtic Park, the 11 miles, there was just bodies everywhere. And I just went to bed, and I was at work the next day, I just couldn't. It was yeah. It's hard to describe how you could have a moment like that in football. But my best moment was, probably the most important game was the 1989 Scottish Cup final. Joe Miller scored. I was there as a 9-year-old kid. I'm actually on telly. So when Margaret Thatcher gives Roy Aitken the trophy, I'm a little 9-year-old boy in the back.
Yeah.
But probably, if I'm really honest, the best moment for me would have to be beating Barcelona 2004, March the 11th. Alan Thompson scored the winner. Or Nakamura scoring against Man United. I'd probably say Nakamura, and that was November 2006. And I was bad for about 5 days. I had to come down the next day just off drink. It was just one of the greatest moments of my life, really. And that probably makes me sound a little bit shallow and I haven't had much gone on in life. But it was just such a high. And, it might sound all ridiculous to people, but football's serious to me. It means so much. Name my son. After footballers, name my dog. Celtic tattoos, and it'll always be a big part of my life. As I said, it's my dad's fault really, because it was whacked into me and young, and I got to a point where I had my own memory and thought I can't erase the rest of the last part of my life, so I've just went on and that's that. But Celtic is the biggest passion of my life. And win, lose, or draw, I'll be there. Breaks my heart sometimes. So I've had some proper lows, but I can't do nothing about it. And I'm not as bad as I used to be. Celtic and Rangers, and I'll get beaten. I'll just stay by myself and have a fight with myself, and it takes about 4 or 5 hours to sink in. I'm not as bad as I used to be when I was a lot younger, but I'll probably still be like that when I'm 88.
Your favourite memory of Parkhead in the flesh?
The St. Patrick's Massacre, St. Patrick's Day Massacre, 1991, 2-0. I think about 4 players were sent off. I don't know whether it might be before your time. Peter Grant was sent off. Terry Hurlick. 4 Celtic players were sent off. And I was there as a 10, 11-year-old boy. Magical moments. But yeah, I was there at Media Bratislava, Werder Bremen. But I haven't really been there for some of the unbelievable nights there, unfortunately.
All-time favorite Celtic player?
Easy. Listen, when I took the Alan Thompson book on, it's been openly reported that Alan Thompson and Neil Lennon were not the best of friends. So when it come out that, I was aware because Neil Lennon was texting Tomo at my house. And I think that put him relaxed when he's put, look, the author actually named his son after you, Neil. So even if I'd done whatever Tomo wanted, I was never gonna put Neil Lennon in a bad light. So I would have to say no one comes close to Neil Lennon. And he's as a child, as a kid, it was Frank McAvennie. And when you watch my podcast tomorrow, I'll be starstruck. I'll probably go back to a 7, 8-year-old kid. But overall, it's there's Frank McAvennie, there's Henrik Larsson, but I just think Neil Lennon, the guy would have took a bullet for Celtic, and he epitomises for me what Celtic are about. And it pisses me off. There's a long line of Celtic supporters with short memories that don't appreciate what that man done for the club. So Neil Lennon will always be my number one Celtic player of all time.
Least favourite Celtic player?
To be honest, I wouldn't hold anything against Gordon Strachan apart from signing Adam Virgo. Big money as well, 1.75, which was a lot then. I never understood I watched him before. I watched him for Celtic, and he was dreadful. But if I'm really honest, Charlie Nicholas, because I seen him tweet a couple of months back saying, why is Stilian Petrov commentating on the Celtic game? It should be someone who knows the club. And I thought, you jealous bastard. There's a few pundits like Davey Proven, Chris Commons. Yeah, do you know what? I'm probably going to out Charlie Nicholas, but I've got to say the West, and he's always slagging Celtic off, and I don't know how he has the cheek, considering when he signed for Tony Cascarino. Come for a big price tag, $1.5 million back in 1989, 1990. And I think he played 30 games and scored 2 goals. And he done an interview a couple of months back saying, I just didn't want to be there. And yeah, he was a guy that he just overall, just didn't want to be there. Took the money, didn't do anything for the club. Played for the Republic of Ireland, so you thought, he would have known the history. And he just any opportunity he takes, he'll slag Celtic Football Club. So I'd probably say Tony Cascarino.
Favourite Celtic goal?
Well, the most important one was Jan Vennegaard of Hesseling. The greatest one ever. Listen, you could probably pick a few Paddy McCourts, the Derry Pelé, Nakamura's, Alan Thompson.
You know what? The two of them probably came in one game that day against Rangers with Nakamura long range shot.
My favorite goal of all time was Nakamura's in that game. So that's my favorite of all time.
The swerve on the ball as well,
Jan Vennegaard, 12 seconds before kickoff, 12 seconds before the whistle, he diving header, and gives me goosebumps thinking about it now.
Excellent. Before we finish up, so being someone with Irish ancestry, growing up in the 80s, would you have liked the Pogues music, Shane MacGowan and that?
Do you know what? Absolutely love it. I've been to see him live. Great question. And do you know what always makes me laugh? All these people are dying, left, right and centre. Famous people, pictures of health. He's got COVID, and somewhere Shane MacGowan will be sat drinking gin with not even so much as a sniffle. What a guy. Unbelievable, iconic, legendary Irish rock band. I've just done a couple of miles before this, and I was listening to Charlie and the Boys. I'm with Tomo at the weekend, so we've got a night and we're going to come back, and I'm sure we'll have a glass of wine and we'll put the Rebs on. And yeah, he loves a good sing song, does Tomo. So that's what really excites me before games, getting the music on, and that gets you really excited, and probably set myself up for a fall when we get beat But there's nothing greater than an Old Firm day.
You want to maybe talk the dates? You have an upcoming with Tomo promoting the book in Middlesbrough and Liverpool.
Yeah, we've got an evening with Alan Thompson in Middlesbrough this Saturday. Then the week after, we've got an evening with Alan Thompson in Liverpool at the Irish Centre. An evening with Alan Thompson in the Irish Centre again in Newcastle, and then a couple of shows in Glasgow. There's going to be a couple announced in May over your way. 4, I think. I'll let Tomo do that because he'll probably go mad if I announce him. And I'd like to do a second book with Tomo in a couple of years, but I don't know, just a book on his time at Celtic, the ins and outs of the training. I purposely left a lot out, thinking we'll do another book in 2 or 3 years. And I'm speaking to Didier. I've been speaking to John Hartson. Yeah, Martin O'Neill. I just, Ricky Burns. So I want to kind of be as active as I was in true crime, but along with the footballers and the boxers and Scottish sportsmen, the odd celebrity. So I'm just changing my genre basically. But I'm really, really hoping there's a lot more Celtic books in me.
Yeah, I think it's been a launching pad, hopefully, for a change in direction and a change. So I wish you every success with that, and I hope it all works out. And feel free to pop them on to me if you want to have a chat to promote it on the podcast. Final word, Jamie. The Japanese guys have started well. New signings yesterday. Do you think Celtic can win the league this season?
You know what? If we don't, Ange, that guy, right? He has exceeded all our expectations. Listen, he come in and it was a sinking ship. Everyone was jumping ship. Come in, didn't have any of his back staff. Eddie Howe turned us down. He come in. With the exception of maybe Starfelt, who I'm still open about, all his signings, but I mean the Japanese boy, the striker who scored the other night, he looks a handful and he's rapid. And that midfielder, well, it was shades of Alan Thompson, wasn't it? His pass the other night, he was just. You've only got to look at Son for Tottenham to realise the talent over there, and Kyogo. Yeah, I'd still like to see a big, horrible, ugly centre half like Chris Sutton or a John Harton who battered the defence. Maybe that Giacomas, the Greek guy, looks that way. But listen, we've won a trophy this year. I think it's literally 50-50. It's not 49-51. It's literally, and if we don't, I think the guy deserves another season. I just think what he's done has been just unbelievable. I can't fault him. Yes, there's been 1 or 2 wobbles scoring 2 goals over Germany and still losing, but that's just Celtic. Even when we were 2-1 up or 2-0 up, I think it was, we knew it's in the small print of being a Celtic supporter that, it's not going to end pretty. Adam said at the end, he said, we're just not good enough. And I'm completely smitten with him. In fact, I'm absolutely head over heels in love with him. When he took over, I didn't know anything about him. But Pep Guardiola said, that guy is one of the greatest coaches I've ever met in my entire life. So for him to say that, I was like, wow. Do you know what I mean? And the guy takes no shit and perfect. Almost perfect. 9 out of 10 for what he's done for the club, and hats off to him.
I think earlier on in the season, I would have said, do you remember Alex McLeish's first season at Rangers? They weren't anywhere near the level of winning the league, but they won the 2 cups and used it as a springboard for the following season. And I just think if Celtic were to win the 2 cups this year, that would be a good return after the car crash of the season of last season. But the way things have gone, like we've really hit the transfer window well. We've bought in good names there and they've made an instant impact. And based on the performance against Hibs, I think we're going to give Rangers a right rattle. Rangers dropped points as well last night at Aberdeen. It's back to 4 points. There's 3 Old Firms or 3 Glasgow Derbies left for the end of the season, 2 at Celtic Park. Every old treble could be on. We won't count our chickens, but I'd give us every chance.
It'd be the stuff of dreams, couldn't it? That would be. Do you know what? For him to do that, I mean, Martin O'Neill come in and done the treble in his first season after the John Barnes season, and you think, I mean, that just blew everyone away. But if he'd done that this year, that would be on par with that. And he would cement himself forever in Celtic folklore. You've kind of just excited me really thinking about it. I've never even thought of that yet. Well, you know, it's still very much on, isn't it? Yeah. But salute to the guy, and yeah, I'm fucking absolutely in love with him, and absolutely I can't say anything bad about him.
Well, he's already equaled Stephen Gerrard's trophy haul in half a season. So even if you don't win anything else, he's equal that, and he was there for 3 seasons. So, is there anything else you'd like to promote, Jamie? Or I'm going to put the link for your channel, Warcry Publishing, the website, and the channel below.
Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel, so it's Warcry Publishing. I've nearly got 7,000 subscribers on there. I'm on Twitter at Jamie Boyle 10, Instagram Jamie Boyle Author, and on Facebook Jamie Boyle Author also. And just you know, I'm hungry and ready to do big things, and I haven't got time for the trolls. You know, it used to bother me years ago, but now I just think fuck you, and I kill people with success. And yeah, the best thing is to just you know, they fuel my fire. I get some lovely messages, you know, bad ones at times, praying for me to get AIDS and cancer and saying things about my wife and kids. But like I said, it's not going to stop me. And unless I get struck by lightning or a piano falls on my head or some sniper takes me out, then I'm going to do 100 books, no problem at all.
Great stuff. If someone wants to get in touch with you to write their own book, we'll say like an ex-pro footballer or whatever, just in case of dropping you a line on those. Yeah, on those videos.
Said, and yeah, I'm very approachable. Really busy at the minute, but depends how interesting your story is. I've turned a lot of people down. There's a lot of, you know, there's some top fighters. I've bare knuckle fighters, actors. You know. I just haven't got the time, but you know, as anything Celtic wise, I'd probably be all over it. You know, things like that don't really need thinking about for me, because you know, that's I've sat there through an evening of John Hartson, an evening of Mike Tyson, an evening of Nigel Benn, and when I'm doing this now, getting paid for an evening of Alan Thompson, I'm going to be doing Didier Gat this year. I'd pay to sit through that. So sometimes I have to pinch myself and think, fucking hell, I'd do it for now. Do you know what I mean? Because these guys are my heroes. I'll always be starstruck if I meet anyone in a Celtic shirt, particularly when I was a little starstruck kid, talking to Frank, looking up to Frank McAvennie or Andy Walker or something like that. So although I'm 41, I'm still that little boy in the head who hung around Celtic Park, stalking his players for an autograph.
Good things happen to good people, Jamie. And, you know, I have to say you've been extremely approachable, as I said earlier, in, you know, messaging you on Facebook from the very first time to now to actually doing the interview, helping organise the interview with Alan Thompson and everything. So you deserve all the good luck in the world for that, like, you know, and we wish you well.
Anything I can help you with, mate. You've got my number, and you just give me a WhatsApp, and if I can, I'll try and sort it.
Great stuff. Is there anything else you want to add there? Or?
No, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure we'll be back on to maybe do some true crime stuff, or I don't know, any other things that you've done.
Yeah. Great. I'm looking forward to that. I got some great feedback on the Steve Reid episode, and the fact you wrote a book for Steve as well. I'm going to link that in below as well. Every Boy's Dream, talking about his time in Newcastle. So I'm going to link that, as well as, of course, Geordie Boy with Alan Thompson, which I bought myself and would really recommend it. It's an excellent book, written from the heart as well. So the two of you did a great job in that. So thanks. So if you have not done so already, please like, subscribe, and click the notifications bell so you don't miss any future videos and updates. And the links to social media are also linked below as well. So thank you everyone again for tuning in. Thank you again for coming on, Jamie. I will see you next time on the Parlay with Padre podcast. Good night. God bless.